You guys can hear me? Okay, cool. Should it? Okay, no, it's not behind me, it's over there. Yeah, so today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how gaming will lead to the growth and innovation of just, general utility on-chain, more users, and hopefully more fun. So as Damien introduced me, my name is Jean-Paul. I am a founding member of Unstoppable Games. We've been building Influence for about 3 years. And yesterday we launched our game into pre-release, so all of you here can play it. I'll get more into that later. But for the subject matter today, what's the problem that we see and why do we even care about blockchain, gaming, or any of this? Right now we see a lot of centralization issues. If you look at Twitter or you look at Reddit in the last year, they implemented really, really strict policies or exorbitant rates on their API. This pushed out third-party builders, and it caused people to lose jobs, lose revenue, and overall the user base wasn't too happy. But guess what? You don't have any other options. So, what if we did have other options? However, before we get to the other options, what are the challenges that we see on blockchain right now? And why don't we have the grandiose things that people say? A lot of people get on stages and they'll say, we're going to bring the next billion users to blockchain. Okay, yeah, prove it. So, what do we lack? Quality consumer applications. And so, why are games really good, applications for blockchains? What will they bring to blockchains? There's a few things. From the innovation side, games are extremely technical. They're very challenging. They're interconnected on all fronts. Influence has over 140 components and smart contracts that make the game run, and it forces developers in the ecosystem to push harder. We need more scaling, we need more tools, and we need it now. And with gaming, your users, when they play, if something's not working, they tell you immediately. If you use a DeFi app and your transaction takes a minute, yeah, okay. Everyone's probably slow. You're just exchanging magic beans back and forth. But with gaming, you're trying to have fun. You're competitively playing, and you need it to be responsive. And then on the growth side of things, I think it's no surprise to anyone there's like 3 billion gamers in the world. But that's not the important part. We're not going to just bring in 3 billion people from gaming. What we are going to bring in, if we have high-quality games, is smaller subcultures that are rabid fans of those particular games. And so when you have a game like Influence, which we hope to attract, hopefully millions of people over time, but we can start small. When people start to have fun, it's very hard to get them out of that ecosystem. With DeFi today, StarkNet is doing a gaming or a DeFi campaign right now. We'll see what happens at the end. There's incentives today, but if the incentives go away, do they stay? Gaming's a lot stickier. So are other things like social applications, and I think we're seeing some exciting things on that end, if we look at Farcaster, for example. So, with all that said, gaming's great for blockchain. We'll drive innovation, we'll drive growth, but what does blockchain bring for games? If users don't care or they don't see value, it's kind of a challenging space to get people into anyways. People think it's a scam. We've had a lot of scams, and it's hard to break through. So I call these the 4 Ps. We've got permanence, persistence, provenance, and permissionlessness. With permanence, we have this ability with being fully on-chain that game assets are now yours. They really are. You control them. They're in your account. And the state of the game isn't even controlled by the actual company anymore. That just lives on chain. So with that, you have inherent value to those. That kind of brings us to persistence as well. Persistence is you can look at the data at any time that's ever happened on chain. And so historical significance becomes something that is tangible on chain. Games are really fun. If you down a boss first, you can prove it. If you get a rare item from that boss, now you can have provenance. You're not just the person who downed the boss first, but you have this item. And later, maybe 2 years from now, this game's a raging success, and you want that item that was, given from that boss. So you now can buy it. You can, because we have NFTs, we've got exchanges, you buy the first Influence ship for $500,000, whatever, I'm making up numbers here. Why would someone do that? Well, why does someone buy a Babe Ruth jersey and hang it on their wall? It has historical significance. And if you have rabid fans and subcultures, it really does drive value. And then that brings us to, I think, maybe my favorite bit is the permissionlessness part of it. So when you look at most games, everything is tight-knit. You don't get to see the logic of the game running. You don't get to see the historical events happening. You can say that you were first, we can't prove it. But with permissionlessness, now we also open the ability for anyone to build on top of, and they don't even have to ask us. So, how is that possible? That really brings us to decentralization. Blockchains can be run by corporate entities privately, StarkX, for example. This is, while that's still valuable, if we want to expand the scope and allow users to trust that what they're building will be there and that the game isn't going to maybe screw them over like Reddit and Twitter has done in the past to their users, we need to have the verifiable fact that this is not being controlled. And decentralization really allows us to do that. So, a lot of this is just me talking and saying what it could be, but as I already told you, you can play Influence today. But we already have about, I think, 16 applications built on top of Influence, and we launched today, or yesterday. So how is that possible? Because they've been able to look at the code since the beginning. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a little website here. This was made by a community member. It tracks just all of the applications that have been built on Influence. And then I have some of these loaded up to show you guys. One is a production chain viewer. Influence is a very giant space strategy MMO with deep production chains. There's 250-something goods that you can craft or build. There's a lot here. And community tools to help you understand what all this is are already live. So pretty cool. Then we have one that I'm super, super happy with. Actually, their team is back there in the corner. Thank you guys for coming. It's called Wendash. Wendash is essentially ingesting all of the on-chain data live from Influence contracts and showing it here to you. So there's a few components to this, but for example, you can look at what's called like KPIs for a company. So as Unstoppable Games might want to look at is StarkNet average transactions over time and how much volume is coming from the game. You can also dive into other things that are more player-centric. So we have pre-release missions, so game items that are happening right now. We'll see if this loads. I know the internet's been a little slow here today. I'll just keep it at that. But basically, there are a whole bunch of different tools here, and it's all been possible because of that permissionlessness. And last but not least, StarkSite Plus, it's basically a social app that you can link on-chain data from the game and post to your friends and give guides and point people in the right directions. So, really, really excited to see that because, we all say that these things can happen. Well, we're already seeing it happen with Influence. And so that just gets me really excited. But why are we building on StarkNet? We could have chosen any L2 or any blockchain. Loot Heroes said some great things already about StarkNet. It's gas. We need cheap gas. We need fast transactions to play games. And we need it now. And so scalability, StarkNet really shines in that degree. And because they have their own virtual machine and their own programming language, they have a lot more flexibility, both in cost and just tools in general. And then native account abstraction. Native account abstraction I could not be more excited about. I am not a developer, but when I learned about native account abstraction, I dug in deep. The ability to put arbitrary logic on top of an account is very, very interesting. So right now, if you go to OpenSea and you sell an NFT on Ethereum L1, let's say you want to sell 10 NFTs from 10 different collections, you have to approve each collection, and then you have to approve each sell. It's really annoying. I'm sure many of you guys have probably done this. It's a pain in the ass. So the ability to take that away and abstract it is what native account abstraction does. So Argent here, we've got one of their members here in the audience, have built this very, very robust wallet. They've integrated native account abstraction, and we're working on something called session keys with them. This will enable the ability for people to get into the game of Influence, sign one initial login, and then play the game without ever signing another transaction. This is something that just really isn't able to be done on any other chain. So again, that's why StarkNet. The ZK Starks I'm a little less familiar with, but I kind of mentioned the VM and Cairo, and all this plays into the ability and the flexibility to kind of decrease costs and increase speed over time. However, there are still some challenges. We're still in a nascent space. There's a lot of tools that still need to be built. We need fee markets, we need staking, we need a whole lot of things on the blockchain side. On the exterior side of kind of the mainstream, skepticism. We need to just absolutely destroy skepticism. If you ask 10 people on the street what they think of blockchain, you're probably going to get, is that NFTs? Is that blockchain scam? Terra Luna, what? Or, whatever they say. And we want to get rid of that. We want people to play games, use applications, and never even think about the blockchain. And when they do get asked whether or not is this game on chain, they can say yes, and it doesn't matter. That's still very challenging. It makes it more costly to acquire users for us in traditional markets, and so we need to keep pushing harder and harder on that. And as I said, we are launched yesterday, and with big challenges, come big breakthroughs. And so as of yesterday, you guys can actually play our game, and here's a little trailer for you guys. I'm not sure if the sound will, yeah. And that game. So that game's live. You can play it. And I would say with every bit of me that it's a good game. It's a fun game. It's deep. You can play for many hours. And because it's on chain, doesn't take away from any of that. So I hope to see more of those games built. But I will like to say, play Influence now. If we can make one success, we can make a lot more. The outro here, guys, I think I can summarize pretty quickly. Gaming is complex. It drives innovation. There's a lot of users who love games, and if we can latch into that somehow and build smaller subcultures between the many games that will be built, we will see a lot of growth on chain. It may not be billions at first, but it could be billions later. So when you hear people say grandiose things, take it with a grain of salt, and let's prove it with smaller pieces first. And if you guys would like, you can scan that. It'll take you to our website. You can play our game. So yeah, thank you.